So welcome everybody. Greetings from TOPkit. Welcome to the Hidden Gems TOPkit Workshop 2024. And we are very thrilled that you have taken your time to be here today. This workshop aims to provide a platform for instructional designers and specialists to exchange all of our ideas, learn some new strategies, and explore some innovative approaches to enhance teaching and learning in higher education. It's been wonderful the past 10 minutes. I keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and seeing a bunch of my Florida friends on here. So that's wonderful. How's everybody doing in Florida? Anybody suffering from allergies? I think the same time last year, Charlotte made the comment that we have pixie dust on our cars, which is Florida talk for pollen. So I kind of thought of that today. How many of you had your air on last night? How many of you had your heat on last night? Again, for our Florida affiliates, we've just had some crazy winter weather where one day it's freezing and the next day it's 90. So it's been a bit bizarre. I do see, though, as I'm scrolling, that, like I said, I see a lot of Florida friends, but I do see some external friends that have joined us this year. We have some visitors from John Hopkins, Purdue University, the University of Texas. I saw that we have a visitor here from Las Vegas. So it's really going to be great to see all of us coming together here today for the workshop, just day one. I did mention it a few times, but if you can, if you go to the participants and find your name, you can rename yourself. If you don't mind adding behind your name, your institution, or again, your affiliation, it kind of helps us as we get in some of the rooms to get to know each other and kind of get to know our areas. Again, welcome. I see some people are still coming in. This is our themed Hidden Gems Florida Top Kit Workshop for higher education for professional development designers and developers. This workshop is going to have a mix of some dynamic sessions. So we're going to have full sessions, and then we're going to have some 15-minute lightning quick sessions. We also have some wonderful keynote sessions. We'll have a kickoff keynote here in just a few minutes, and then we'll have another keynote wrap up on day Friday. So super excited about that. We want to thank our presenters that have modified their presentations to fit the lightning sessions. We do know that you have some great ideas. We had a great problem this year. We had so many presentations submitted that we had to make a choice either to deny more or redo the schedule so we could accommodate more. And so this year we did do some more lightning sessions, more than maybe you saw last year if you were an attendee last year. But at the end of the workshop, we really would like you to kind of give us some feedback on how you feel this setup is. So thank you so much for all of you that submitted, and we're willing to kind of switch around your time frame and your agenda for our session. But like I said, it did allow us to accept more presentations. The reason we're here again is to share our best practices, share our stories, talk about all the emerging technologies that we always have coming into our field that bring so much excitement, and then always to discuss challenges and hopefully solutions that we can work with each other to either figure out for institutions or state or international usage. So again, welcome. We really do hope this workshop fosters collaboration, that it equips you with some new strategies. And once again, we just kind of want to welcome and thank you so much for being here. Just to introduce myself, my name is Sue Bauer, and my role with TopKit is I'm the program coordinator, kind of pretty much the project manager. So I'm fortunate enough to work with this wonderful TopKit workshop group. I also get to work with the TopKit Digest, Ask Addie, our website, and a couple of events, the collab and the hackathon that we throw. I'm going to be working through some quick announcements after this, just kind of thanking some other people that have been active in making this happen today. But before I do that, we have Wendy Howard, who is kind enough. She's joining us today. She is the program director of the Pegasus Lab here at the University of Central Florida. But even more importantly for us at TopKit, she is a TopKit principal investigator, and she is also a very active member of our advisory board, always helping us with resources. So Wendy, I just wanted to give you a few minutes to talk to our group today.
Well, thank you, Sue. I'm so glad to have an opportunity to say hello to everybody and welcome you to this year's Topkit workshop. It's so cool to see our two faces on the screen together again, Sue. because yes, I was going to give just a little bit of backstory on this event. Sue and I actually co-hosted the very first workshop back in 2017, and my, how it has grown and expanded since then. So I was just kind of browsing through the participant list, and I see a lot of familiar names who have been with us from the very, very beginning in 2017, but a lot of new names and faces, which is awesome. It's really grown over the last goodness, 7 years, 8 years since this all kicked off. So for those of you who are new to TOPkit, just want to give you a little bit of backstory on where this came from. The TOPkit workshop was developed in response to the State University System of Florida's 2025 Strategic Plan for Online Education. So that was written in 2015. It was meant to be a 10-year plan, and wow, the 10 years are almost up. And I think the efforts of the TOPkit team have really helped propel forward some of those initial goals that were posted in that strategic plan. And I think actually the team has far exceeded some of those initial goals that we put forth. So like I said, the first workshop was in 2017. We started out with a group of about 50 people in one room. And over time, word spread, and we were approached by folks outside of Florida. Could they join in the fun? And we've had international visitors over the years. Like Sue mentioned earlier, we did start out face-to-face, and then coming out of the pandemic, we've been online ever since, which has really allowed us to, I think, reach a broader audience than just those who were able to travel into Orlando in years prior. But because this came out of the strategic plan at the state level, this is actually subsidized by the Florida Board of Governors. Well, it's sanctioned by the Florida Board of Governors, and the money comes from the state university system. So our Council of Academic Vice Presidents all chip in from the 12 universities to subsidize the cost of putting on this event back when it was face-to-face, and now that it's online. So we like to say that it's Florida funded, which makes it Florida focused, but it is not Florida exclusive. And we love sharing with each other and learning from those who join us from out of state. So that is the intent behind the TOPkit workshop, is to pull everyone together who's focused on preparation, faculty preparation and support for teaching online. So we're so excited to welcome all of you today. Thank you for letting me be a part of the program. The committee has put a lot of thought and effort into designing a program that has wide, far-reaching topics and broad topics from all kinds of presenters across the country who have so much to share. So I look forward to sharing and learning from all of you the next couple of days.
Thank you,
And thank
Wendy.
you,
We
Sue, for
really
that
appreciate
opportunity.
it. And thanks for the memory lane. Wow, 2017. I knew it was you and me, but I guess I forget that it was 2017. Thank you. We appreciate you welcoming us and coming here and joining us today. And again, for all you do for TOPkit. Thank you so much. All right. Again, just briefly, these wonderful faces and names you're seeing in front of you are the TOPkit Workshop Planning Committee, from building the website to marketing to looking through submissions to scheduling, everything. So a huge thank you to this team here. You'll see them around in some of the rooms today. Please feel free to say hi to them, but thank you for all you do. I also want to take a second to thank our TOPkit Advisory Board. Those are a lot of names there, but I really want to show them my deepest gratitude for their invaluable guidance and support in organizing the workshop. We extend our appreciation to each of you. And I just want to say that if you are an institution that you don't see you are represented here, we also have an ambassador panel. Please reach out to me if you are interested in either the advisory board or our ambassador panel. We have great opportunities for you to have some leadership and collaboration opportunities with TOPkit. Let's see. I'm going to go over here very quickly. We have some exciting new news. We are working on some new content for topkit.org. We are going to be uploading sample courses. We are fortunate that both FIU and FAU have agreed to share their sample professional development courses, similar to the IDL 6543 that UCF has had up there in previous years. So that'll be coming. Hopefully by Friday, I'll be able to announce that's there. Same with checklists and rubrics. Both of those are probably, with our data analytics, the most 2 pages hit monthly. So those were the ones we kind of picked subject to focus on. And then we also obviously have an artificial intelligence coming soon. And again, I promote if you're interested in developing that material for TOPkit, please reach out to me. We would love to have you. And at that time, I'm going to turn it right over to Charlotte.
Hey everybody. So really briefly, I'm just going to go over some little housekeeping stuff about the workshop today. It's Zoom. At this point, everybody is very familiar with Zoom. When we first started this in 2021 virtually, this was more needed, but of course, it's all in Zoom. Don't be afraid. It's called WebEx Events as an app, but everything is in Zoom. So most of these sessions are going to run in 45-minute increments, unless you're a lightning session. We do have one lightning session that is 45 minutes and another lightning session that is 30 minutes. So just be aware of that on the schedule. All participants are going to be muted when we come on. And if you're having audio issues, please, please, please direct your questions to me or topkit@ucf.edu and we'll get that answered. All the sessions are being recorded, and we just got news that we will have fully ADA compliant captions for all of your sessions, and those will be provided once the sessions are over. Just give us a little bit of time on that. If you want to ask questions at the end of a session, please use the chat icon. And if you need technical support, again, contact us at topkit@ucf.edu. Please and thank you. And last but certainly not least, many of you have already done so, but please, please, please introduce yourself on the connections wall. And inside of that, you'll have to scroll down a little bit. I was the first one to post. Please, please, please join us for our treasure hunt. So this is a little bit different from our scavenger hunt where we were finding Kevin. The treasure hunt is actually inside of WebEx Events Socio. And what you can do inside of that treasure hunt is enter this code. I'm kind of giving it away here, but it's treasure_each other. And if you add that, you'll get 15 points. But please, since I just gave that one to you, also post in the connections wall. There'll be lots of codes, including at the end of each session, so you can earn the points. And at the end, day 3, we will have winners announced who will get some really cool swag and other prizes that we have provided for you. So please, please, please join in the treasure hunt, and can't wait to see you there. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Charlotte. And with that, we are going to go right into our first event for the TOPkit Workshop. And that is going to be our keynote panel. And that's going to be wonderful timing because I'm able to turn it over to Kevin, who not only is Kevin the keynote panel facilitator, but he has been kind enough to be our TOPkit Workshop 2024 chair and meeting with us to talk about discussions and timing and all that good stuff. So many, many thanks, Kevin, for all that you've done for this workshop this year. And I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll say that no Kevin was harmed in the scavenger hunt, so I'm doing well. But let me just welcome you all. So welcome to TOPkit Workshop 2024. As you mentioned, I'm Kevin Corcoran. I'm the Assistant Vice Provost for the University of Central Florida's Center for Distributed Learning. And as workshop chair, it is my honor to officially kick off today's events. And again, for those who did participate in the scavenger hunt, I am back safe and sound thanks to your assistance. I would like to also echo thanks to the TOPkit team and all the presenters for making this week's schedule so engaging. Wendy talked about this a little bit, but for those joining TOPkit for the first time, this workshop is designed to empower those who manage faculty development or prepare faculty to teach online with practical tools and strategies to enhance their vocation. As online practices and technologies emerge and evolve, we unite in this space to collaborate to build even a better future for online learning. Together, we will evaluate educational experiences and transform possibilities for all. And I do mean all. As my scavenger hunt explored the physical wonders of Florida, it's now time to explore institutional gems, those exceptional practices and technologies that ensure online learning remains firmly rooted in quality and engagement. Our topics this week include a number of items, including accessibility, AI, affordability, change management, digital credentials, virtual communities, gamification, self-care, quality assurance, and so much more. And we're excited to bring not only all these presentations to you, but plus our keynotes with University of Florida Sid Dobin on generative AI in the classroom, as well as Every Learner Everywhere's Karen Cangelosi and the student panel on equitable digital learning. I'm also excited to kick off our sessions today with a panel of rock stars to discuss the future of instructional design. And we're going to get to that in just 1 minute, but I want to thank you all again for coming today and being part of this community. So with that, I would ask our wonderful panelists to join me on screen, and then we're going to do a round of introductions if we could. So are we going to pin video or are we going to leave?
Yes, I am in the process of pinning. It's very hard when you're doing the three monitors. All right.
Well, as we get that going, perhaps we can start the introductions since we have the faces on screen. I'm going to ask my colleagues in Florida to go first. So Paige, would you mind giving a brief, maybe a 1 minute introduction about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Paige Scherzak. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Academic Technologies and Training at Santa Fe College here in Gainesville, Florida. And I was at the first TOPkit meeting, Sue. So just a shout out there for you and Wendy back in 2017 when I was down working for Valencia. So I've been here for 4.5, almost 5 years. I oversee a number of different aspects of online learning. So our Canvas learning management system, instructional design. I have an educational media studio. I also oversee our testing and assessment centers, which is atypical for this kind of position. And then different aspects of service for online students, so things like proctoring, tutoring, online quality, and then different parts of faculty development. So that's kind of me in a nutshell for the moment, Kevin.
Thank you, Paige. Michael, would you go next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Wright. I hail from Florida International University in Miami, but I'm actually at UCF right now. They got me a really cool conference room because I was at Innovation Summit yesterday. At FIU, I am a faculty fellow with our Honors College. I teach for our College of Liberal Studies, but I also manage FIU Online's Learning Design Innovation team. We're the unit that you come to when you're like, I'm not sure you can do this online, but I thought I'd ask this one crazy team. So I get to work with those brilliant, creative instructional designers who solve the problems that many of us know real sound instructional design and visual design can do.
Thank you. Tina, could you go next, please?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tina Parskell. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Online for the Colorado Community College System. So I serve as the Chief Online Learning Officer for the System Office. CCCS is a system of 13 community colleges throughout Colorado, and I lead all things online, both with a central team as well as liaising with the colleges and their e-learning team. So I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Tina. And last, but certainly not least, Whitney.
Thanks, Kevin. It's very exciting to be here, and I am coming to you live from UPSIA in Boston. There are all the people, and thrilled to be in 2 places at once. So thanks for the invite, Kevin. I am the co-founder and chief academic officer at iDesign, and we serve higher education in the development of online programs by being staff augmentation for teams that might be too small to take on big projects, and are happy to serve. At this point, we've served more than 150 universities over our 11 years in business and have more than 300 instructional designers on staff. We take a team-based approach to instructional design. So I oversee video services, the graphical design team that makes the magic happen, makes everything look good, right? If you don't look good, we don't. So there's a lot of really incredible work that goes on behind the scenes here at iDesign to supplement the resources that are on the ground at various institutions. Thank you so much, TOPkit, for having me. I have had a resource in TOPkit for a number of years, so this is my first time being here, and I'm very delighted and honored to be a part of the family.
Fantastic. Thank you. And So this session is entitled The Future of Instructional Design Work and Faculty Development. So what I'd like to do is just briefly sort of set the stage for the conversation, is that if we think back over the last, 4 or 5 years, a few things have changed in the way that teaching and learning has happened online. If we weren't dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are now dealing with an AI pandemic of some sort. Between those 2 points in time, we've been dealing with evolving faculty competencies, evolving technologies, whether that's AI or XR, new formats for courses, whether that's length or badging. And we've also been dealing with, or at least the looming threat, perhaps the word, of Generation Alpha, and how that may impact how we design for the future. And so during this session, we're going to take a little bit of stock of where we are, and we're also going to try to do our best to predict where we might be headed over the next 5 years. And so just to sort of open the floor here, I'd like our panelists to think back 4 years ago, because at end of March 2020, I think everybody was dealing with the same sort of panic and thinking about how has the learning design or the instruction design process changed since emergency remote instruction? How has it possibly enhanced your process? How has it negatively impacted, those approaches or those conversations? So, Tina, with a large set of community colleges that you're overseeing in Colorado, can you kick us off?
You bet. Part of my team that I lead is CCC Online, which is a consortium of the 13 colleges. We're transforming into Colorado Online. But with that, we had a central design unit that created course shells that were used by, a single shell was used by multiple faculty members. And so we went into the pandemic really having a good, solid infrastructure for online. Our colleges were pretty variable, and so we were able to leverage our design talent to help them stand up their online programs, but also really venture into synchronous remote learning. And I think that's really where my team has pivoted in the last several years, because we were very mature in our online offering. But the places where we really grew as a team, it seemed like getting in the go back machine or the way back machine with Sherman, right? But we really discovered that there's a lot we can do with synchronous live learning. And we've really been able to blossom with that, so much so that we're able to help our rural community colleges create a rural consortium to be able to create sustainable models that leverage synchronous learning, which is, for me, as someone who's always looking forward, it was really surprising to see how far we've come with and how this pandemic really enabled us to hone our craft in pedagogy for synchronous learning.
Bonus points for a Peabody and Sherman reference.
Yeah, thank you.
Michael, what would you like to add?
I was been thinking about the answer to this question for a while, because I think there's many things that as instructional designers, we had hoped, we thought were going to be transformative and we'd never go back to. And I think the biggest thing that changed for our team is that we no longer have to explain what an instructional designer does. Like, people now know we exist, right? We're here at FIU, where we're all these spaces and places. And I started thinking a bit deeper. What are maybe the subtle things that have changed the way we do what we do post-pandemic, and that we may not have noticed? And I think the real big shift, at least that we experience in our team, has been a focus on the value and the challenges with deploying UDL for learners and faculty who unfortunately deal with unreliable internet, students who are consuming and engaging with a majority of their coursework in mobile. And so having to, okay, now everyone's online, everyone's in this space, or not everyone, but more people are open to it. How do we do this? Not only because remote COVID was, hey, we're just throwing things online and praying it works. Now coming back to those instructional design principles and foundations we really know, how do we design an experience that really does justice to these learning goals and learning objectives and impacting as many learners as possible? So I think something that, you know, our team would say that has really changed is the focus, the awareness of shortcomings for previous design and accessibility, and now the focus to get it in that space, in that place.
Thank you. Paige, I'm curious, you know, from a state college, did the emergency remote instruction actually create new barriers for you, especially in faculty development, where there was this experience of this rushed experience to go online that folks have, or students for that matter, have been resistant to come to a fully online asynchronous model?
Absolutely. I think for us, the pandemic was kind of like a tsunami. It was an exponential increase in demand. And we certainly didn't get a lot of extra staff during the pandemic. That just didn't happen. Everything just moved over. I think we have some folks who are now online averse because they went through what I would call remote learning, not actual online learning. So we have some students and faculty who are just like, oh, online's terrible. And you're like, no, you were not in an online course. You were in a remote course. And I think we keep trying to raise that point for some individuals because they think online is just low quality and no interaction, and it's just somebody lecturing to them over Zoom. So I think there were certainly challenges for us to support our students and our faculty. When you have a small staff, when you have limited resources, any major change is gonna, you know, throw a curveball your way. But I think we pivoted as hard and as fast as we could. And I can tell you, I had many 14 and 15-hour long days when we moved to the pandemic, just trying to get support, help students, you know, help our faculty and our staff move over. I think for us, we do have some individuals who come to the realization that online can be meaningful. It can be an interactive and an enriched learning experience. But we also have a good number of folks who want all of our tech choices to be simple and easy to use. So I think that's one of the things that's really come forward. I might be willing to use Zoom, it's got to be easy. And so we have a lot of folks who will say to us, I got a little bit more tech savvy during the pandemic, but I'm not an IT person. I'm not somebody who can, you know, sit there and wrangle technology all the time. So I think we still have a good deal of work ahead of us in terms of supporting all of our folks, especially like you said before, Michael, in rural areas, or Tina, you said in rural areas. You know, we have people who live 20 minutes away from us and don't have solid internet. So I think that's going to be a continued problem for us.
Thank you. And Whitney, you know, you have an interesting perspective on this. I mean, not only were you assessing higher ed institutions, but you also were knee deep, hip deep into K-12 for iDesign.
Yeah, Kevin, it's been really fascinating. I mean, before you said, imagine 4 years ago. 4 years ago today, the world had shut down and it got really quiet. And when I think back to that time period, instructional designers were in, I think you said, Paige, that there was an exponential increase in demand. I would absolutely echo that statement because what we saw and what I heard in some of the research I was doing with a friend and colleague from Harvard, Patrice, was that we were seeing exhaustion in our instructional design staff because there were, in many cases, one person, two people at any institution that were in charge of instructional design because the need for instructional designers had not been firmly established at every institution. I think the pandemic did that for us, but that exhaustion across institution types really led us to think differently about staff augmentation models. So at iDesign, we were always building complete degree programs from beginning to end. During the pandemic, we were tapped on the shoulder by institutions to say, can we just set up a call center where faculty can reach out and get the help that they need on demand when they need. And I say, you said earlier that technology needs to be easy. Actually, Zoom being easy to use was still a problem that we're working through now at a lot of different institutions. Faculty think they know how to teach online because they know how to use Zoom. And so did Yoda say, you must unlearn what you have learned, right? We've been saying for 25, 30 years, lecture's not the best approach. You want to be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. The concerns about academic integrity, we were talking about varying assessment, adding in practice informative activities. I think that's true now more than ever with AI, which we'll get to in a minute. But certainly there's a lot of work still to be done, and quality has become what is drawing students in. So institutions that had online programs that were known to be good quality and well structured with a lot of student services or student support is where students are going, right? So we're seeing enrollment gains in those areas.
Thank you. And I'm going to just shout out to Tina in the chat. She makes this excellent point about 5 years ago, the year before the pandemic. We maybe were struggling to see the value in what an instructional designer provided. 4 years ago, in high demand and scarce availability across the globe. So, just hearing some of the perspectives you all shared, it all sounds like, while the emergency remote piece presented barriers, it also provided clarity moving forward. Whether it was the emphasis on UDL or reliable infrastructure, or the need to make things more simple and easy for faculty adoption, or staffing models, or new approaches to faculty support. There were ways that we saw the path forward and what we needed to do. And one of the items that Tina brought up was around the growth and sort of validation of synchronous learning. And so I want to sort of shift gears here and talk about changes in content and delivery formats that we've realized over the last number of years and that we're all grappling with. And that could be the craze around alternate credentials or micro credentials in the digital badging world. It could be around labor skills mapping or durable skills, competency-based education. And something that we're doing here at UCF is exploring short format semesters. And so, Whitney, I know that you're doing some work with a Mid-Atlantic university around mapping labor skills. Can you talk a little bit about that effort?
Absolutely. There's been a big push to open up jobs to people, not just with degrees, but with competencies and skills in certain areas. And we're seeing even government jobs remove the need for a degree from the job postings and listings. At that institution, Kevin, we're actually creating skills taxonomies, both of the terminal skills, but the enabling skills as well that will help students be able to achieve and master that terminal skill. So there's a really interesting project that we're doing where we're doing some intensive mapping of all of those things, in addition to mapping to the standards that the degree program, where those learning opportunities live inside. Actually, those degree programs need to be mapped to particular outcomes and standards as well. And then cross-mapping those to Bloom's taxonomy. And if you're familiar with the Iowa State version of Bloom's taxonomy, there's the cognitive domain, and then there's the knowledge dimension. And so where those two fit can also give us some insights into how you would scaffold learning across those various skills, allowing for remixing and reusing of content in a fully scaffolded format in order for students to achieve new outcomes in a non-credit fashion. So we're looking at how you could reuse the assets across an institution in a variety of different contexts.
It's just, I'm amazed at the work that is being undergoing, and it's just a massive effort. But Paige, I'd love your perspective here on what changes in content delivery or formats that you've seen at Santa Fe.
I think we've done some exploration of HighFlex in particular. So if you're not familiar with that, it's a course where a student could choose to attend a face-to-face session, do it virtually online at the same time, or watch a recording later online. So just in case I don't want to throw out jargon. So we've had some folks exploring HighFlex here in particular. We do have some faculty who did like the virtual hybrids where they're doing things synchronously. So they have enjoyed staying on with those. But I think HighFlex was it was one of our admins was pushing it maybe more than anything else. So we had some folks who were getting into it, but it's honestly, it's like the highest degree of difficulty with teaching because it's the spinning of plates, right? You've got to maintain your presence with the people in front of you, maintain your presence with the people who are virtual and live, and then think about how you might interact or follow up with people who are online watching a recording. So HighFlex we saw a kind of a tiny little peak and then it's dropped back down again because I think some folks tried it and were like, this is too much. I think we need to think about the way we support HighFlex differently. So right now it's just a faculty member in a room with the right technology doing the session. We don't have like additional helpers in there to manage the technology or look at like a live chat or keep things rolling. So I think we need to really think about how we support our faculty and our students in those different formats. I know there is some research that doing things in kind of what used to be called, I don't know if it's still called the quarter system, or doing things in those shortened semesters tends to work well, but it's usually one class at a time, or maybe two classes at a time. It's not somebody maybe necessarily taking a full schedule. So I think we need to really look at where are students going to be successful and what are the ways in which we can support them so they are.
That's a great point. I watched my daughter during the pandemic be in a HighFlex classroom where she was the remote participant and frequently missed. I don't want to say ignored, but just missed. So, and I agree with Michael in the chat, it requires significant support. And I love the framing of we need to think about supporting it differently. Tina, I wonder if I could throw you a curveball and maybe pick your brain about what Colorado's doing around micro-credentials and badging.
You bet. So, Whitney, I just got so excited when you're talking about skills mapping, because one of the things that we're doing that is so unique is in response to the backlash from the pandemic, we really have a mental health crisis. And fortunately, we have a governor who really understands that and was willing to invest in behavioral health. And so we received a $15 million grant to not only create academic programs, but also to create badges, micro-credentials, and community wraparound services. So in addition to developing curriculum, I know I'm making everyone jealous because we're doing some progressive stuff. So we're also able to create really community outreach. So not only are we teaching and creating a workforce, but we're also creating resources in the communities that our community colleges serve to really support those communities in terms of behavioral health. So we've done skill mapping. We have a really strong partner we're working with D2L on it because we're kind of pushing the edges of our technology ecosystem with it. But we are mapping from stackable credentials all the way up to we're working on a new BAS in behavioral health. But we're also integrating some of the certifications and certificate programs that happen at the associate and diploma level. So it's pretty exciting work. I get to see it kind of from the infrastructure background. I have a colleague who's leading it more boots on the ground, but it's really exciting what we're doing, and I think it's going to fill a really important need for Colorado.
Do you see the evolution of the relationship between higher ed and industry? Do you see that becoming tighter and tighter?
Absolutely. We are getting more and more in reach from industry. In fact, we just are launching in fall a BAS degree in cybersecurity, and one of the aerospace industry partners reached into us to say, hey, you have this new cybersecurity, how do we get involved? And so it's no longer just us reaching out to the community to say, hey, industry, how could you assist? How could we meet your needs? They're actually seeing what we're doing, and they want to get involved as well. So we're also launching the Colorado Skills Institute to really focus on non-credit as well. And that's working really hand in glove with industry.
Fantastic. Michael, I've got a ringer for you. I would love to know your perspectives on Gen Alpha and whether or not we can continue to develop courses in the same format, which is click and point and read, or what considerations do we need to be tackling right now to handle this incoming generation?
Great question. I'm concerned that you saved that one for me, but yeah, I want to start off by saying something that I think is important for context. I'm a millennial, and I'm proud to be a millennial. And I know some of you are like, "Oh my gosh, you said that out loud. How could he?" And the reason I do that is because I think it's important. It can be dangerous to group, right, all of these generations into kind of into a box. I think the most dangerous one was digital natives. But I do think there are far too many valuable components and experiences to these learners to just throw out and not consider when we think about how valuable it is to design meaningful and transformative learning experiences for them. And so when thinking about Gen Alpha, I think I am the most excited for what their expertise, their journey is going to bring to the demand of instructional design. And I think that because for a long time, and I know this is true in the state of Florida, I can't speak to every other state, but I think paradigm-wise, we need to be thinking about more andragogical experiences than pedagogical experiences. And for those of you who may be just unfamiliar with andragogy, it's speaking about adult learning versus more traditional kind of K-12 learning experiences. And I see that Gen Alpha, the way they're engaging, the trends we're just seeing, they are trying to be accelerated to adulthood very early. We're seeing studies that are looking at their relationship with advertising and brands being far more mature than even Gen Z before them. And so they're going to not only know what options are out there, they're going to do the research on the problems. They're going to want far more agency and independence in that. And I know for some of you, you're like, Michael, Gen Z is already pushing that edge. And what I would say is Gen Alpha is going to push it even farther. Secondly, this is going to be the first generation who does not think of AI, as many of us do, as this, oh my gosh, we're finally in the future, right? We're living in the future. They're going to be living with the expectation that the value, the benefits, the techie kitschiness of AI is an expectation. And wherever you land on the AI kind of spectrum of love it or scared of it or it's the Terminator or otherwise, there's one thing that AI, at least in large language models, is doing phenomenal now. And that is, it is engaging with us in what seems like a very human and personalized way. And I know we might kind of like stand back and we're not sure like what I mean with that. And I think of the idea of when I go into ChatGPT to write something, how it'll ask for feedback. But when I'm meeting with a faculty, they're like, I've got 300 students. I don't want to give feedback to everyone. I need to get their grades out and get them pushed through. And so Gen Alpha is going to have all of these really unique experiences where technology seems to prioritize the personal, the intimate kind of experience. And we can expect as instructional designers to start working with faculty and SMEs to create a truly adaptive and personal learning experience. This generation, they're going to come in with these andragogical needs, these andragogical training, but more than that, they're going to expect an experience that is personalized to their learning journey, and one that I think many of us are excited to give them. But we need the tools, and fortunately, we need the demand. And I think Gen Alpha is going to be a really great opportunity for that challenge to come up, and we are the people who will step up to that and give them that really challenging but highly human, highly relevant digital learning experience.
That's
Can I
amazing.
jump in? I'm
Yes,
like
please.
so excited about what Michael has just said, because every step along our journey, we've been pushed to new heights. When I first got started in instructional design, everything was black and white. It was text on the screen, and we used conference calls for synchronous meetings, right? Like you dialed into a number on your phone that was still connected with a cord. We've come a long way in 25 years or so, and I can't wait to see where we go next. Kids today are growing up with, mommy's phone in their hand so that they can watch Cocomelon or, from a very young age. And then they're playing video games. They're immersed in movies. Like video games are like an immersive movie anymore in my mind as I watch them, unfold on the screen. The expectation is there that we will go next level with education, but the funding has never really been there for education to go to that level, which is why we're waiting for tools, because tools will make it more affordable. The video game industry can invest the kind of capital that they do into the development of these immersive movie/game experiences. Higher education and education at large typically can't. But I will tell you, I've been tapped on the shoulder by some young founders that are in their 20s that are thinking about creating gaming platforms for education that is going to take things to a whole new level. So I got a little excited, Michael. Sorry, I just wanted to piggyback on that and say, yes, bring it on.
All good. Love the excitement.
That might be next year's panel, or we start just talking about that. It's all I apologize to the UCF folks who've heard me say this, but imagine in a near future, where AI is basically taking an account for the students' well-being and their current state of mind and prompting them and saying, what would you like to do based on how you feel right now? Do you want to review? Do you want to learn new? Do you want this in audio format? Do you want this in written format? Do you want it in interactive gaming format? But I digress. So what we just unpacked here around content and format changes seems like there's a lot that's going to be put on the designer's plate and the faculty's plate, whether it's as simple as supporting, well, not simple, but as to the roots of supporting HyFlix in a different format, or thinking about how AI is integrated into the teaching learning aspect, and how we can use andragogy and how we can use UDL principles in here. Paige, I'm going to ask you, how do we revamp our faculty development, with these additional competencies that we're requiring faculty, but also we're also seeing a shift in how faculty are coming to us. We may have folks that are coming through certificate programs of instructional design, or they may come in having been an instructional designer. So we have folks that are across the wide spectrum of background in supporting instructional design. So how do you handle this at Santa Fe?
I think we're at the beginning of handling all of this. I don't know if anybody's really got a full grasp on it yet. I would say a few things. One, teaching competencies aren't really going to change much. And that's weird to say, but the things you need to know how to do online are still the same things you needed to know how to do online. So engaging your students, writing outcomes, creating assessments, aligning your course. Those things have been around for quite some time. I would say probably 20 years now. So that really hasn't changed in terms of the competency. I think it's how do we get people, in this case, maybe faculty, to recognizing that competency or getting to it as fast as possible, and making sure that we're kind of smoothing the path for them to move forward. So with AI is a wonderful, bright, shiny tool. I think for some people, it's pulling them along rather than them saying, what is my outcome? I need to know what my outcome is before I decide what the tool I want to use. So that really should be the basis of decisions, regardless of where you're going, no matter what the tool is. And faculty still need to have the competencies or the skills to judge the output from those tools. So if I don't know what a measurable outcome is, I can ask ChatGPT to make a bunch of stuff for me, but can I judge what comes out of it and can I use it appropriately? So I think that idea still needs to be embedded in all the development that we do. What are the things that faculty need to know in order to use a new tool, change a format, interact with students differently? I think that's kind of the core of what we do. And then from there, are there ways for us to move the needle faster or better? So could we do some prior learning assessment with our faculty? We do it with some of our students. Are there ways for us to gauge the information that they come with when they arrive at our institutions? And this may be particularly important for our part-time and our adjunct staff, because I don't know about you, but every single institution has their own training requirement. And so every single adjunct or every single part-time person and full-time person has to jump through that hoop. What if we could streamline that? So we're giving you credit for things you already know, and then we're filling you in on the things that are relevant to our culture, things that we expect from you, and then hopefully, getting you up and running faster and giving you more just-in-time support.
Thank you. Michael, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. With everything that we've been talking about and knowing that there are federal regulations and there are other obligations for faculty, how do you balance from making sure that faculty are meeting accessibility guidelines, they're meeting regular and substantive interaction, requirements, and that they're looking towards the future and they're looking at how they can use AI tools? How do you balance that with your faculty?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent question, Kevin. And I think, something that you have to begin with, and something that I'm really fortunate that the people that I work with at FIU Online, especially the Learning Design Innovation team, is we recenter before we kind of make a decision and we solve a problem, or we were presented with a problem. We're like, what is the goal here, right? The goal is to give our students the knowledge, skills, and experiences to be able to provide and or feed their families or community, right? That is our North Star. And when we realize that's our North Star, we can look at some of these disruptions, some of these new innovations, and say, AI is not doing something, is not bringing up a problem that is really new. Cheating was going on beforehand. Our assessments weren't that great beforehand. A lot of these things that we had in place, they were problems that the people in this room have been going to conferences talking about, have been reading books about, have been participating in podcasts on. We knew these problems were here. AI has merely exacerbated it and said, no, you need to react now. And so when we pair kind of that North Star and that realization that, oh, this is the innovation, this is the natural steps that we knew we had to take care of, but weren't priorities, that helps kind of bring us a little bit more at ease, kind of take the breath, take an easier breath and say, all right, this is the same battle. We just have to get to the end a bit faster. And so now, how do we accelerate that for you, our faculty? Well, the first thing is we got to talk about our messaging. This is no longer an idea that may happen. This is occurring. So now we have to clearly articulate why this is valuable to you, why this is meaningful to you, and bring you the examples of how this is changing now. Second is we need to give you a soft landing, right? A lot of these disruptions, when they occur, the hardest part is just getting out of that, getting over that initial friction and just moving forward. So my team has been really strategic in saying, well, what we're going to do is we're going to identify faculty that we know do the crazy things, that are up for new ideas, and we're going to have them pilot these new tools. But more than that, we're going to share their stories. We are going to send out the successes and pitfalls of it so that our faculty know, like, oh my gosh, this has been done. This can be done. And we're going to pair that additionally with resources that are almost templated to say, hey, look, this is something you can take and transform a bit that will work in your space. I think some skills that instructional designers are going to need moving forward outside of just pedagogy is we're going to need to start focusing on empathy and confidence building in all of our collaborations. And that has been when you have that North Star, when you realize that the problems that are brought up here are just problems we've always had, just exacerbated by AI, then we can say, all right, let's get the messaging out. Let's make sure there's a soft landing, and let's ensure that we have the tools to go to the things that we knew were always true, right? The things that our students, the objectives truly need to be achieved, not I can rewrite, I can use different words in an essay. They need to be able to do those incredible things that you all have spent, our SMEs, our faculty have spent their lifetimes writing books about and studying.
Thank you. And I just have to note that this conversation, we've had the opportunity to come together previously and have a conversation that was just as rich as this. And we could clearly go on for hours on this, but we are running out of time. And so we will not be able to go into a deeper dive on AI, but I do want to jump to sort of our closing thoughts here around advice for the future. Because we did want to have a future look to where we think folks should be looking to, where they should be directing their efforts. And so what I'd love to do is ask Whitney, if you wouldn't mind sharing some thoughts on where you think the audience should be looking and directing their efforts over the next 5 years.
Yeah, let me use a 4-letter word, play. The pandemic pushed us out beyond the coalition of the willing, and we revisited the resistance that we had been working through for 20 years in the first 20 days of the pandemic. And now it's time to play. AI brings us an opportunity to not be exhausted every day, but to be re-energized and reinvigorated, trying new things, pushing the envelope, breaking things, which I think brings joy to most people in the field of instructional design. Hopefully, within your teams, you can make time for that. Our team restructured during the pandemic, and we tried to create a Friday afternoon window that we called innovation time, right? So everyone on our team gets a chance to use different tools, to explore new technologies, and to share in a Slack channel, not to get on a meeting and spend a bunch of time talking, but to share in a Slack channel what they've explored, how they've used it, how it's changing the work that we do, because the work that we do will change. It will change quickly, more quickly than we anticipate. And those of us that have been exploring artificial intelligence tools to do the work will be the ones that get the jobs of the future. So I think that, you know, my key is spend some time, roll up your sleeves, and play with some of these tools that are available to us.
That's awesome. Tina, do you have parting advice?
So I want to take a kind of a bigger picture. Is I like play, but I also want to leave folks with aspire. I'm an instructional designer by discipline, and I ended up in senior management. And so one of the things that I love Paige talking about outcomes and assessments, all of that, all of the competencies that you all possess and do every day really are positioning you for a potential seat at the table in terms of the C-suite. And so I think about how and be intentional about how your work could inform future opportunities for leaders, because we're seeing every day more and more chief online learning officers coming out of our ranks. So that's my inspirational charge to you all, is dream big, because you can do it.
Thank you. Paige, please, if you've got something to share for us.
My 4-letter word is data. You need to know your data. You need to understand what's happening in your courses, what is driving success, where are the obstacles, both for your students and your faculty. So you need to get a hold of your data. I heard somebody say data is the new oil. You really need to understand what's happening. And part of that is also, it helps you focus your efforts. So if you're going over here and working on the design end, is that really where you need to be? We just developed an online facilitation course because we have some folks who are doing just fine on the design end. It's the delivery that's killing us. It's the student not being able to interact with a faculty member. It's that an inability to create that sense of belongingness in the course, that connection that's really one of the issues. So I would say know your data, know where the actual issues are, and then you can work towards remediating those while you're kind of moving forward in your next iteration.
Thank you. You all are making me nervous when you come out with a 4-letter word, but with that, Michael, please share your thoughts here for advice for the future.
I'm so glad I don't have to come up with a 4-letter. I couldn't do it. You all are just so incredible. I mean, all the advice said before is just it's incredible. I think the only thing that I might want to just accent is let's focus on the human things. And what I want to say with that is AI is showing us that there were things we were spending time on, energy on, doing that were not human things. And even in our design, right? Let's look for tools and strategies that can do the robot things, the software things, and let's reshift and recommit to the human things. Those are the things that, regardless of the disruptions that come about, right? My millennial thing, I always joke that I'm a millennial because I've seen things that I love. I've seen the world change and things that I love die. R.I.P. Toys R Us. But I think, when we're thinking about what's future, how do we consult better? How do we design better? How do we serve our communities, our students, our board of governors? How do we do what we need to do better? We got to do the human things, not the process things, not the robot things. There's a tool for that, and at the rate that it's going, if there's not a tool for that today, it'll be here in 3 hours.
And I want to echo something, Michael, that you said to me is that, the current adult student, that non-traditional student, is the millennial now. So I want to take an opportunity to thank everybody who's joined this opening keynote, but I would like you all to join me in thanking the panel in this wonderful conversation. I had a wonderful time moderating this, and I'm sure that we could have gone on for hours, but thank you so much. You are truly rock stars.
Yes, thank you all so very much. And please make sure you jot down their information. Maybe we can have some type of consortium afterwards just to keep it going, because great dialogue. I am the timekeeper, so I've come back in. We have a little bit of a break. We're going to kick off at 2:05. I am going to work with our next presenters to kind of get them up and running in this room. Again, thank you all so much for the panel. For our attendees, you may want to jump back over into Socio and look at the schedule. We do have some lightning sessions coming up, so please take a moment to do that, and we will be right back with our first round of lightning sessions. Again, thank you so much, everyone.
Paige, Michael, Tina, Whitney, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Kevin.
having
Thanks,
me.
everybody.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Michael, I'm going to reach out to you. I'd love to have you come talk to my folks. I was jotting down notes of things you said. You inspired me, my friend. So thank you, Kevin, for introducing me to Paige and Michael.
Oh, my pleasure.
And anytime,
thank you very much
you
for the
or
invite.
anybody wants to reach out, please do so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Please say hi to President Brody for me.
I will.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great conference, everyone.
Thank
care,
you. We
everyone.
appreciate
Bye.
that.
Whitney, enjoy
Thanks,
Boston.
bye-bye.
All right, Bywin, I see that you are in the room. Hopefully I've just made you the co-host.
Okay, can you see my screen right now?
Sure can.
So Sue, it is 2:05. Should I just go ahead and start?
Yeah, by when, if you don't mind, unfortunately, I turned over host to you, so I'm going to go back and make you
Can you
a
also make
co-host.
Can you also make Kylie a co-host since she's going to share
Absolutely.
her screen as well?
All right. Oh, I have to go back to making me, I guess, the host. Can you take off your host for just a second? Reclaim host. There we go. Okay. I think I'm good now.
Can I just go ahead and start?
I believe so. I'm going to make her co-host. I think I took yours away, so let me just give it just in case.
Can you still see the sharing of the PowerPoint?
Yes. Okay, we are recording, Bywin. Thank you for your patience, and go ahead and take it over.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you everybody for joining us today for a presentation on navigating accessibility guidelines and best practices in STEM courses. So today we're going to share with you input languages and tools for accessible math content. And we have 4 presenters from UCF today, and actually Rosalind cannot make it for a personal emergency, but both Rosalind and I, we are instructional designers working with STEM disciplines. And Kylie, she is an experienced programmer who specializes in accessibility. And Dr. Tian, she is an associate lecturer from the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. And Dr. Tian, and I'll let you take the floor to start your discussions on the accessibility challenges.
All right. Thanks to Baiyun for the introduction. So again, I'm Tian Tian, and for the past decade, I have been a part of the mechanical engineering faculty at UCF. But the recent focus on improving accessibility has opened my eyes to new challenges and ways to enhance how we present our courses. So here on this slide, I have put together some of the challenges I have encountered while trying to make my courses more inclusive and accessible. They were navigating through areas such as adapting notation-heavy documents while preserving the integrity of the documents, ensuring the absolute accuracy of digitized equation sheets, which are, of course, vital for examinations, crafting assessments with complex notations, delivering precise captions for complex scientific content in our lecture videos, and converting complex diagrams into alt text that fully explains the diagrams. So as many of us here are educators and instructional designers, I'm really interested in your perspective. So out of these challenges, which ones strike you as the most important for making our classes more accessible, or which of these challenges resonate with you the most? So I'm looking forward to discussing this with you, either through chat during the session or in follow-up conversations. So to give you a better understanding in the next few slides, I'll walk you through some specific examples of the challenges I've faced. First up, Baiyun, can you move to the next slide? So first, let's look at some typical class notes from one of my engineering courses. So just to give you a bit of context, in a single course, I might handle 30 to 40 PDFs like this, each one packed with complex equations, diagrams, tables, and my own handwritten notes crafted during lectures. So these documents are, of course, crucial for learning, and they need to be made accessible, which is a challenge in itself. So next, Baiyun, can we move to the next slide? Yes, this slide. Thank you. So now I want to show you an actual equation sheets used in exams. So for exams, of course, precision is absolutely critical. So there's no room for mistakes. So previously, we have been taken shortcuts. So we might have taken shortcuts by like using clipped images directly from the textbook. But that approach now falls short of our accessibility standards today. So we need to come up with tools that guarantees the precision needed for assessments. Can we move to the next slide? So now we want to move on. I want to show you an actual exam. The next slide, please. Yes. So this is an actual exam. As you can see, just like our equation sheets, our exams are also densely packed with complex mathematical notations, diagrams, and charts. So each symbol, every line matters, and we need to make them accessible for students. And lastly, I move to the next slide. So now let's shift our focus to lecture videos. So across a typical course, I may share like 15 to 20 videos like this, each about 30 to 40 minutes long. They are loaded with specialized notations and equations, charts, everything. So these videos challenge the limits of auto captioning technology. So very often auto captioning is not sufficient. So this means we need to seek better solutions or new solutions, or we have to invest time in manual captioning, like to ensure every term and formula is conveyed correctly. So it's time consuming but essential step for accessibility. Well, thanks for your attention. Now I'm going to pass it over to Baiyun for the next part of our presentation.
Okay, and thank you, Tian. And so now let's just do a little bit of the fun game here. So here is a fun game called This or That. So we have two displays of the same integral equation for estimating the area between two curves. So which of these two equations is more accessible, A or B? And A is an equation created using the Word equation editor, and B is a screenshot image of the equation.